Chapter 8. The Fall of Kaguya. The questions Kaguya refused to answer only strengthened Hagoromo's resolve. For the first time in his life, he no longer believed the truth would simply be given to him. Whatever secret his mother was protecting, she had made it clear that she had intended to carry it alone. Hagoromo could not accept that. If the disappearances were connected to the divine tree, then the answers could only be found where no one else dared to go. Together, Hagoromo and Hamura quietly left the capital and journeyed toward the forbidden lands surrounding the divine tree. Few people ever ventured near its massive roots. Generations of stories and superstition had convinced most that approaching the sacred tree invited divine punishment. Whether those fears had originated from rumor or careful design no longer mattered. The result was the same. No one went there. As the brothers drew closer, Hagoromo immediately sensed the same immense current of chakra he had felt while meditating beneath the tree months before. But now it was stronger, far stronger. The flow of chakra did not simply pass through the earth. It converged beneath the divine tree itself. The deeper they traveled into its sprawling root system, the quieter the world became. Birds no longer sang. Even the wind seemed unwilling to disturb the ancient forest. Only the steady pulse of chakra remained. It surrounded them from every direction. Hagoromo closed his eyes. The countless chakra signatures were unmistakable. They were human. Thousands upon thousands of them. Some were faint. Others flickered as though they were slowly fading away. Yet every one of them remained connected to the divine tree. Following those signatures, the brothers finally reached the source. Before them stretched an enormous underground chamber woven together by the tree's colossal roots. Suspended among them were countless organic cocoons. Inside every cocoon rested a human body. Some appeared peaceful, as though they had merely fallen asleep. Others showed signs of terrible change. Their skin had become pale. Their bodies had begun to lose their human form. Thick strands of chakra extended from every cocoon into the roots of the divine tree, where the energy of each captive slowly disappeared into the immense network Hagoromo had sensed from afar. Neither brother spoke. The scale of the discovery defied belief. These were not isolated victims. Entire generations had disappeared beneath the divine tree without the world ever knowing what had become of them. The peaceful age humanity celebrated had been built upon a secret hidden beneath its feet. Hagoromo slowly walked among the cocoons, placing his hand against one of them. The chakra within responded immediately. For a brief instant, fragmented emotions flowed into his mind. Fear, confusion, sorrow, then nothing. The presence faded almost completely. Whatever process the divine tree had begun was stripping away more than chakra. It was erasing the people themselves. Hamura searched the chamber in stunned silence. Every direction revealed more victims. There was no end to them. The disappearances that had haunted villages for generations were no mystery after all. Every missing father, mother, every traveler who had never returned home, they had all been brought here. The brothers finally understood why Kaguya had refused to answer their questions. She had not been protecting a secret. She had been protecting this. The rabbit goddess, who had brought peace to the world, had also condemned countless innocent people to an existence hidden forever beneath the roots of the divine tree. For Hagoromo, the realization was heartbreaking. He did not feel anger. He felt disbelief. The woman who had raised him with kindness could not possibly be the same person responsible for such unimaginable suffering. There had to be an explanation. There had to be something they still did not understand. Determined to learn the truth directly from the only person who could provide it, the brothers turned away from the divine tree and began the journey back to Kaguya. Neither realized that their discovery had not gone unnoticed. From high above, hidden among the branches of the divine tree, Kaguya watched her sons depart. For centuries she had feared this moment. The truth she had struggled so desperately to conceal had finally been uncovered, and with it, the peaceful world she had built began to crumble. Kaguya had always known this day might come. From the moment Hagoromo first questioned the disappearances, she had seen the curiosity that defined her eldest son growing stronger. Unlike the people who worshipped her without question, Hagoromo sought understanding above all else. He refused to accept the mystery where answers could be found. It was a quality she had once admired. Now, it threatened everything she had sacrificed to protect. When her sons returned, Kaguya no longer attempted to hide the truth. She revealed that she had not been born on Earth, but had arrived from a distant world as a member of the Otsutsuki clan. She explained the purpose of the divine tree, the harvesting of chakra fruits, and her betrayal of Ishiki after claiming Earth's fruit for herself. For the first time, Hagoromo and Hamura learned that they were not simply the children of the rabbit goddess. They were descendants of beings who traveled the cosmos, harvesting entire worlds. Kaguya also revealed the reason behind the infinite Tsukuyomi. She had never believed humanity could survive the eventual return of the Otsutsuki. The people of Earth possessed no chakra of their own, no understanding of the power that existed beyond their world, and no means of resisting the clan she had betrayed. The White Zetsu were her answer. Every person absorbed by the divine tree would eventually become a soldier. Together, they would form an army capable of defending the planet when the inevitable invasion came. To Kaguya, every life sacrificed today would save countless more in the future. It was the only path she believed remained. Hagoromo listened carefully. He understood the danger his mother described. The threat was real. One day, other Otsutsuki would arrive on Earth. But as he thought of the countless victims imprisoned beneath the divine tree, he reached a different conclusion. Peace built upon the loss of freedom was not peace at all. Humanity deserved the opportunity to choose its own future, even if that future contained suffering, failure, and uncertainty. Kaguya had come to believe that humanity was too fragile to govern itself. Hagoromo believed that was precisely why it deserved the chance. The difference between them could not be reconciled. For centuries, Kaguya had ruled as humanity's protector. Now, for the first time, someone stood before her who rejected the very foundation of her world. To Kaguya, that rejection represented more than disagreement. It represented the collapse of everything she had sacrificed to build. Her sons had seen the truth. They would never again accept the world as she had created it. And if they opposed her, others would eventually follow. The peaceful age she had fought so desperately to preserve would come to an end. Fear once again guided Kaguya's judgment. The same fear that had driven her to consume the chakra fruit. The same fear that had led her to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi. And the same fear that had transformed humanity into an army waiting for an enemy that had never arrived. It now convinced her that even her own children threatened the future she sought to protect. As that fear overwhelmed her, the immense chakra she had carried since consuming the fruit began to react with the divine tree itself. The distinction between Kaguya and the tree that had given her power slowly disappeared. The chakra flowing through her body answered the chakra flowing through the roots beneath the earth. The two had once been separate. Now they began to reunite. The ground trembled. Across the world, the roots of the divine tree burst from the earth as unimaginable amounts of chakra gathered around its trunk. The transformation had begun. The woman humanity had worshipped as the rabbit goddess was disappearing. In her place, an ancient force was awakening. The divine tree and Kaguya had become one. The creature that emerged would become known throughout history as the Ten Tails. It possessed neither mercy nor reason. It was a being of overwhelming natural power, born from the reunion of the chakra fruit's bearer and the divine tree itself. For Hagoromo and Hamura, there was no longer any hope of resolving the conflict peacefully. The fate of the world would now be decided by force. Never before had Earth witnessed such power. The transformation shook the planet itself. Mountains trembled beneath the force of the chakra being released. Forests bent as violent waves of energy rippled across the land. Even those living thousands of miles from the divine tree felt the world change beneath their feet. For the ordinary people of Earth, there was no understanding of what was happening. The rabbit goddess had protected them for generations. Now, the very source of that protection had become something else entirely. The creature that towered above the divine tree scarcely resembled the woman Kaguya had once been. Its enormous body pulsed with an endless supply of chakra. Countless tails lashed across the landscape, while a single eye opened upon its form, radiating the same overwhelming power Kaguya had possessed, now amplified beyond imagination. This was the Ten Tails. Not merely a beast, but the living embodiment of the divine tree and the chakra Kaguya had stolen from the world. It was power without restraint, power without balance, power driven entirely by instinct. Hagoromo and Hamura stood before the creature in silence. Only moments earlier, they had been pleading with their mother to abandon the path she had chosen. Now, there was no sign that she remained. The brothers understood what had to be done. If the Ten Tails continued unchecked, the world Kaguya had once sought to protect would be destroyed by her own power. The battle that followed became one of the greatest conflicts in history. No armies marched beside the brothers. No kingdoms came to their aid. There were no shinobi, no hidden villages, and no great clans to stand against the Ten Tails. Only Hagoromo and Hamura possessed enough chakra to challenge it. The struggle raged across the land. Each attack from the Ten Tails reshaped the landscape itself. Entire forests vanished beneath torrents of chakra. Mountains collapsed beneath blows powerful enough to alter the face of the earth. Oceans churned violently as shockwaves echoed across the planet. Yet despite its overwhelming strength, the Ten Tails lacked the discipline and clarity that had once defined Kaguya. It possessed unimaginable power. The brothers possessed purpose. They fought together as one. Where Hagoromo's wisdom guided their strategy, Hamura's unwavering resolve carried it out. Years spent learning, growing, and trusting one another allowed them to move with perfect unity. Neither brother sought glory. They fought only to save humanity. As the battle continued, Hagoromo's understanding of chakra deepened even further. For years he had sensed the invisible bond connecting all living beings. During the battle, that understanding became complete. He realized chakra was never meant to exist as a tool for domination. Its true purpose was connection. Every living being possessed spiritual and physical energy. Properly understood, those energies could unite people rather than divide them. It was a revelation that would shape everything Hagoromo built after the battle. But first, the Ten Tails had to be stopped. After a struggle unlike anything the world would witness again for centuries, the brothers finally gained the upper hand. Destroying the Ten Tails, however, proved impossible. The creature was too deeply connected to the chakra of the world itself. So Hagoromo chose another path. Using an extraordinary technique born from his newly awakened Rinnegan, he and Hamura sealed the Ten-Tails rather than destroying it. The technique was known as Chibaku Tensei. The immense mass of chakra, stone, and earth rose high into the heavens, carrying the Ten-Tails with it. As more and more rock gathered around the imprisoned beast, an enormous celestial body began to take shape above the planet. What had begun as a prison became the moon. For the first time since Kaguya consumed the chakra fruit, the world was free from her rule. The rabbit goddess had fallen, but the brothers knew their victory had come at an enormous cost. Their mother was gone. The world had been saved, and humanity now faced a future unlike any it had known before. Chapter 9. Ninshu. Although the battle had ended, the scars it left upon the world would endure for generations. The moon now hung in the night sky, serving as both a prison and a reminder of the conflict that had nearly brought humanity to extinction. Few people fully understood how it had come to exist. To most, it was simply another part of the heavens. Only Hagoromo and Hamura knew the truth hidden within the stone shell. The Ten-Tails had been sealed. Kaguya had fallen, but the world she left behind was still deeply wounded. Countless people had been lost to the divine tree. Entire communities had disappeared without explanation. Nations that had lived peacefully beneath the rabbit goddess suddenly found themselves without a ruler. For the first time in centuries, humanity was forced to determine its own future. Hagoromo believed that future could not be built through fear. He had witnessed what absolute power could become when guided by desperation. His mother had sincerely believed she was protecting the world, yet her desire to control humanity had nearly destroyed it. Hagoromo became determined that history would never repeat itself. Rather than ruling as Kaguya had, he chose another path. He traveled. Leaving Hamura behind to help restore order, Hagoromo journeyed across the world, visiting villages both large and small. Everywhere he went, he listened before he spoke. He met people who had lost parents to the divine tree, children who had never known their families, and entire communities struggling to rebuild after generations of living beneath Kaguya's rule. Many feared him at first. His power rivaled that of the rabbit goddess herself, and stories of the battle against the Ten-Tails had already begun spreading across the land. Some believed another god had taken Kaguya's place. Hagoromo rejected that idea. He never demanded worship. He never asked anyone to kneel before him. Instead, he sat beside ordinary people, sharing meals with them, listening to their stories, and helping them rebuild their lives. Wherever he traveled, he used his extraordinary chakra not to dominate others, but to heal the sick, restore damaged land, and ease suffering wherever he found it. It was during these journeys that Hagoromo reached the greatest realization of his life. The battle against Kaguya had taught him that chakra was unimaginably powerful. Traveling among humanity taught him what chakra was actually for. He came to understand that every living creature possessed both physical energy and spiritual energy. When those two forces became one, chakra was born. More importantly, that chakra connected every living thing to every other. No person truly stood alone. Life itself formed an invisible network, binding humanity, animals, and nature together. If people could learn to understand that connection, perhaps conflict itself could one day disappear. From that belief, Hagoromo founded a new philosophy. He called it Ninshu. Unlike the ninjutsu that would emerge centuries later, Ninshu was never intended to be a weapon. It was a spiritual practice centered on understanding one another through chakra. Those who studied it learned to mold and share their chakra with others, allowing hearts, emotions, and intentions to be understood without deception or misunderstanding. Hagoromo believed that hatred was born from isolation. If people could truly understand one another, then hatred would lose its foundation. For years, he traveled the world teaching this philosophy to anyone willing to learn. His followers came from every walk of life: farmers, craftsmen, former soldiers, village elders. People who had once been divided by war now sat together, learning that the same life force flowed through every one of them. The teaching spread farther than Hagoromo ever expected. Across the world, small communities devoted to Ninshu began to appear. They were not kingdoms or religious orders, but gatherings of people seeking harmony through mutual understanding. For the first time since before Kaguya's reign, humanity began shaping its own future without the rule of a single divine figure. Many later generations would remember Hagoromo as the sage of the six paths because of the extraordinary powers he possessed. Hagoromo himself hoped to be remembered for something far simpler, not as the man who defeated Kaguya, but as the man who taught humanity to understand one another. For a time, it seemed his dream might truly become reality. As the years passed, Hagoromo watched the teachings of Ninshu spread farther than he had ever imagined. People who had once lived in fear of one another now gathered to meditate, share chakra, and better understand those around them. Villages that had previously been isolated began exchanging knowledge and resources. For the first time since before Kaguya's reign, humanity was rebuilding not through conquest, but through cooperation. Hagoromo believed he had finally broken the cycle that had defined so much of history. Power no longer belonged to a single ruler. Instead, it was a gift shared among all living things. As the founder of Ninshu, Hagoromo never claimed ownership over chakra. He taught that it already existed within every person. His role was simply to help others recognize it and understand the invisible bond connecting all life. That's why his followers eventually came to call him the Sage of the Six Paths. The title was never one he sought for himself. It was born from the respect of those whose lives he had changed. Among those closest to Hagoromo were his own family. In time, he married and had 2 sons. The elder brother was named Indra, the younger Asura. From the moment they were born, both inherited the extraordinary chakra of their father. Yet despite sharing the same blood, the brothers could not have been more different. Indra displayed exceptional talent almost immediately. Everything seemed to come naturally to him. His intelligence surpassed that of nearly everyone around him. He learned quickly, mastered difficult concepts with ease, and demonstrated a level of control over chakra that few adults could hope to match. Many believed he was destined for greatness simply because of his natural ability. Asura's childhood followed a very different path. Unlike his older brother, nothing came easily. He struggled with the same lessons that Indra mastered effortlessly. Where Indra excelled through instinct, Asura succeeded only through perseverance. He often failed, made mistakes, and relied heavily on the help of others around him. To outside observers, the difference between the brothers appeared obvious. One had inherited extraordinary genius. The other had inherited very little. Yet Hagoromo saw something others overlooked. Whenever Indra faced a challenge, he sought to overcome it alone. Whenever Asura faced one, he inspired others to stand beside him. As the boys grew older, those differences became more pronounced. Indra devoted himself to perfecting his own abilities. His confidence grew alongside his strength, and many of Hagoromo's followers naturally admired him. It seemed only logical that the elder son, blessed with unmatched talent, would one day inherit his father's role as leader of Ninshu. Asura took a different path. Though he lacked his brother's brilliance, people were naturally drawn to him. Friends gathered around him without being asked. He celebrated the success of others as though they were his own and never hesitated to place the needs of those around him before his own ambitions. Where Indra inspired admiration, Asura inspired loyalty. At first, Hagoromo viewed these differences as complementary. He believed each son possessed qualities the other lacked. Together, they represented two equally important aspects of humanity: strength and compassion. But as the years passed, another difference slowly emerged. It was not one of talent, it was one of philosophy. Indra increasingly viewed chakra as a means of achieving greater personal strength. He respected Ninshu and his father's teachings, but he believed peace could only be maintained if the strong possessed enough power to protect it. Asura embraced a different lesson. He believed the greatest strength came not from an individual, but from the bonds people formed with one another. To him, Ninshu existed to unite hearts, not elevate individuals above everyone else. Neither philosophy appeared dangerous at first. Both sons sincerely wished to build a better future, yet Hagoromo could not ignore the growing divide between them. The same chakra that had once united humanity after Kaguya's fall was beginning to reveal two completely different visions for the future. Hagoromo had spent his life teaching that chakra was meant to connect people. Soon, his own sons would test whether that dream could truly survive. The differences between Indra and Asura did not emerge overnight. For many years, they trained together, learned together, and stood beside their father as he continued spreading the teachings of Ninshu throughout the world. To those outside their family, they appeared destined to continue Hagoromo's work together. But Hagoromo had begun to notice subtle changes. As Indra's abilities continued to grow, so too did his confidence. Every challenge reinforced the same lesson. Hard work had certainly shaped his talents, but there was no denying that he possessed gifts few others could hope to match. He became the first person after Hagoromo to awaken the Sharingan. It was a remarkable moment in history. The dojutsu that had appeared in Hagoromo himself had now passed to the next generation, revealing that Kaguya's power would continue flowing through her descendants. With the Sharingan came an even greater understanding of chakra. Indra quickly developed techniques unlike anything the world had seen before. Where Hagoromo had taught people to use chakra to understand one another, Indra discovered it could also be molded into powerful techniques capable of altering the physical world itself. For the first time, chakra was being used not simply to connect, but to fight. Indra viewed these discoveries as progress. If chakra possessed such incredible potential, then refusing to explore it would only leave humanity weaker when the next great threat eventually arrived. His grandmother's warnings about powerful beings descending from the heavens had not been forgotten. Though Kaguya's methods had been flawed, Indra believed she had been right about one thing: humanity needed strength. Asura watched his brother's rapid growth with admiration rather than jealousy. He celebrated every achievement Indra made and never questioned his extraordinary abilities. Instead of trying to surpass him, Asura continued focusing on Hagoromo's original teachings. He worked alongside villages rebuilding their homes, helped settle disputes between neighboring communities, and strengthened the bonds between the growing followers of Ninshu. Wherever Asura traveled, people naturally gathered around him, not because he was the strongest, but because they trusted him. Hagoromo observed both paths with increasing concern. Neither son had abandoned Ninshu, yet each understood it in a completely different way. To Indra, Ninshu gave humanity the power to overcome any obstacle. To Asura, Ninshu gave humanity the ability to overcome its own divisions. Both interpretations contain truth, Yet Hagoromo understood that one day they might be impossible to reconcile. As he grew older, another question began weighing heavily upon him. Who would inherit Ninshu after he was gone? Many assumed the answer was obvious. Indra was the eldest son. He possessed extraordinary intelligence, unmatched talent, and powers no one else could rival. Throughout history, leadership had almost always passed to the firstborn, and few doubted that tradition would continue. Hagoromo did not see the decision so simply. He had watched kingdoms rise and fall. He had witnessed his own mother's descent from protector to tyrant. Power alone had never guaranteed wisdom. Before choosing a successor, Hagoromo decided to test both of his sons, not to determine which was stronger, but to discover which truly understood the purpose of Ninshu. That decision would become one of the most important moments in the history of the Shinobi world. Its consequences would echo across countless generations, shaping the destinies of clans, villages, and even the lives of Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha thousands of years later.